Hello, thank you so much for being here for today's hip class. I'm going to be doing some exercises focusing on hip mobility, hip strength, and just some general awareness for you to gain around your hips and the structures that support them. So bring yourself down to lie on your back. Just find yourself here breathing to start. So feel that you can inhale and your ribs expand, and then exhale and they close in together. And try to focus on nothing but the movement of your ribs. And if they feel restricted, like it is difficult to move them, then just see if you can send your energy of your breath there to have them expand a little more on each breath as your diaphragm fills, and then close together a little bit more easily each time as you breathe out. This filling and emptying of your diaphragm, a component of your core, is important as we think about your core engagement. So I want to connect that now in with your pelvis to start to lay the foundation for the hip work. So taking your hands down towards your pelvis, on your exhale, posterior tilt your pelvis. That's where you imprint it into the mat, drawing your belly in. And then inhale, anterior tilt. Peel it off, have the natural curve that forms under your back be a little bit exaggerated. And then repeat. Exhale, belly comes in, core engages, pelvis comes down. Inhale, peel it off, really exaggerating. You're trying to tip your pubic bone towards your feet. Each time you exhale and your spine imprints, drawing your ribs together, core engages. And then inhale, come in the other direction. So along with moving your pelvis here, we are also starting to play around with how your femurs sit in your hip sockets. And we're going to continue to play with that fairly regularly throughout the session today. So now I want you to find your neutral pelvis and keep it neutral for this next series of exercises. You can have your hands down by your sides now, just checking in regularly about your ribs. Now your feet and legs are going to stay parallel, hands down by your sides. On your exhale, core engages, lift your tailbone up just a couple centimeters off, so it's just enough that you could put your hands underneath of it, and then sit back down. Keep doing that. Exhale, feet push down, lift, and lower. And just check in here as you're doing this, so you can have the tripod of your feet. So the ball of your big toe, the outside edge, your heel, arches a little lifted to help get this work along the back chain and inner thighs. Shoulders are soft and your pelvis stays neutral. Now when we do this, your pelvis is neutral and your sits bones are parallel or more or less underneath of you. Now I want you to plop yourself down, leave yourself there and turn internally. So this means your knees are going to come together. It's like you're forming a V shape inwards. Your heels and feet are to the outside edges of the mat. And now we've spread your sits bones open a little. Same thing. Exhale, just a couple centimeters, lower back down. Now just check in with how this feels. I want you to press your knees together so you'll feel a little bit of inner thigh work. We're working on those deep internal rotators of your hips. And at the same time, we're allowing some space in your sits bones, space in your SIJ at the back. Exhale to lift up, always finding that core connection to help drive the movement. Now, if this is uncomfortable for you, feel free to come back to the parallel version. Depending on what's going on in your hips or your SIJ, this may not feel very nice, and you can go back to your legs parallel. But if you're comfortable here, continue on. Exhale, press your knees together, lift up. Let your sits bones come open and wide. 2 more here. Then leaving yourself down, you're going to switch to external rotation. So now your knees are going to go out to the sides, feet are going to stay wide on the mat. Same idea now. Exhale, press down and lift. Look for a little bit of extra hamstring and glute engagement because your glutes are responsible for this external action here at your femurs. And we're using those external rotators of your hips. And your sit bones are now a little closer together. So again, might not feel nice on your SIJ. If it doesn't, just come back to parallel. That's always your neutral, steady option. Now, whichever option you're in, parallel or external, the next time you're going to come all the way up. Press all the way up. Look for this openness here across your hips, and then lower yourself back down. Continue on with that. Exhale, lift. Look for this space here, a little bit of connection in the back, and then lower down. Holding up this time, keep your neutral spine or neutral pelvis. You're going to drop partway down, come back up. Pressing, lifting. Keep connecting in with your ribs, being aware of what they're doing, trying to let them flare open to the ceiling. Breathing through for 3, 2, last one. Very good. Now lie yourself all the way down. Come back to parallel. We're going to go through one more bridge variation, this time focusing on that pelvis movement for articulation. So with your hands down by your sides, on your exhale this time, imprint your spine. And then articulate your way up into your bridge. Shoulders are soft at the top, and then articulate back down, one vertebrae at a time. Pelvis is posterior tilted first, then back to neutral. So really feel this work here, your pelvis tips, spine imprints, shoulders soften, ribs together. Notice this space at the front, they're not turned on here at the top. Let them relax, let them turn off, and then articulate your way back down. We're going to do just one more like that. Take your time. Try to really allow this movement of your spine to happen. This is the first time we've done this to this degree so far today. Breathing through always. Inhale at the top, and then exhale. Sink your ribs as you allow yourself to imprint your spine back down onto the mat. Very good. Then from there, just hug your knees into your chest. Have a little pause. Then we're going to do a little bit of hip mobility work. So keep holding onto your right knee and lengthen your left leg out along the floor. Now from here, what I want you to do is imagine that your leg can't operate all on its own. You have to do all the work with your arms. So holding on here, I want you to circle your femur around in your hip socket. So it's just like you're trying to twist it, rotate it. It can't do it by itself. So you're not moving with your leg. You're circling around like you're stirring a pot, and your leg is the big handle. Your pelvis can move a bit, that's fine. Switch direction with your circle. And whatever range is available to you is also fine. So it may feel good to come really close to your chest. You may feel good to go really over to the side. Whatever feels nice in your body, I want you to stick to that range. Then pausing in the middle, you're going to pretend it's like your windshield wiper. So you come over to the side, back through the center, over to the other side. And again, if your pelvis tips off a little, that's fine. You're just looking for this left to right movement here with your femur. So it's coming internally and then going externally. Then when you are back to the center on your next one, I want you to flip so that you're going to have your right hand on your right knee and then reach and hold on to your heel. So it's going to come towards your belly button. Then it's just kind of like you're cradling it and you're going to move it side to side. So now we've put your leg, your thigh in external rotation, and we're moving it around in your pelvis while it's externally rotated. Again, a little bit more mobility, a little bit more awareness around how things are oriented in your hips. Then I want you to bend your left leg and sit your right leg down onto your left. Take a second, push a little bit on your right knee. Have that nice little stretch out here, and then you're going to just find your neutral pelvis and try to keep your pelvis neutral throughout this next sequence. Taking your hands behind your head. On your exhale, curling up. Inhale, lower. Exhale, drawing up with your belly coming in, ribs together. Inhale, lower. Now, if this is uncomfortable for you to have your knee bent up, then feel free to place your foot on the floor. but it's just making you do this little bit of external rotation work while we do a little bit of upper abdominal work. And then we're going to add the lower abdominals. So when you're back down flat next, on your exhale, lift your foot up off the floor and then continue on with your curl ups. Same thing, if it doesn't feel good, make an adjustment. You can set your foot back down on the floor. You can eliminate the curl ups at the top. Whatever you need to do to make this more comfortable, even though it'll be a little uncomfortable because it's a bit challenging. Now we're going to switch to the oblique version, so you come up and cross over toward your right knee in the air, and then bring yourself down. Crossing over, coming down. So this is the part where we're thinking about the strength as well in your hips. So we're using your abdominals, but there's lots of work happening in that hip flexor, or those hip flexors. Hold your legs here. Do just 3 more. 2. Last one. Then leaving yourself down, foot comes down. And then reach through. And I want you to hold on to your shin or your hamstring. Have a little stretch up. So this is probably the stretch that you're used to doing like this with your figure 4. And then place your foot down. Unravel. Stretch both of your legs out along the mat. And just pause there. Reach one, reach the other. Do any kind of internal, external movement that you need to stretch out your hips. And then when you're ready, we're going to switch everything over to the other side. So I want you to take your left knee, bend it in towards your chest. And then just start with your circle or your rotation. So you can picture this ball and socket joint of your hip. And right now you're twisting that ball around in the socket, the acetabulum, if you will. And we're just looking for that range that's available to you. You can switch directions now. And just get aware or curious about how it feels, anything that you notice, not with judgment. Then park it in the middle and opening out to one side, and then back to the center or over to the other side. Now for me, I can feel that this left side feels far more restricted than my right, and that is very normal if you find that one hip or one side is indeed more restricted or more mobile for that matter. Park it in the middle after your next set. And then reach for your heel, hold on to your knee. A little bit of movement here. Just kind of swiveling it side to side. It's like you're cradling your knee and your heel in your hand, rocking them to the left and right. And then bend your right knee and set that left side down onto your knee. Take a second, reset, push a little on your knee. Make that left side do a little bit of work. And then as you're ready, neutral pelvis throughout if you can. Hands behind, exhale, curling up and lower. Drawing your belly in, feeling that really strong connection from your center. Feeling your ribs stick together as you come up, that upper abdominal work. And then as you're ready, if you wish, you can lift your right foot off the floor and continue on. And like I said before, if it doesn't feel good, then leave it down. If you're happy to do a little bit of extra work there on that right hip flexor, keep going. And a little bit more work still, switch to the oblique version, crossing over, and then return. Exhale as you come up. So your shoulder blade, the right one, will peel off the mat, but your pelvis doesn't tip. Just 3 more here. 2. Last one. And then leave yourself down, put yourself down, foot comes down, and you can reach through, hold on to your shin or your hamstring, and have a nice little stretch on that side. And then placing your foot down, unravel from all of that. Just like before, lengthen out both of your legs. Take them a little wider this time, more to the outside edges of your mat. And then imagine that you're trying to push your heel to one corner of the mat, and then pull it away from the corner and push your other heel to the other corner of the mat. So just keep swapping back and forth here. What I'm actually doing is this little bit of a hike of my pelvis, so it's a little bit of a lateral shift. But it helps again with this pelvis orientation, your body, how your legs insert in. Okay, very good. Park it in neutral. Leaving your legs lengthened out, reach your arms up overhead. Tucking your chin towards your chest, exhaling as you come through your roll up. And then when you reach the top, pressing through and coming back down. So we're gonna do a few of these. If it's uncomfortable or too much for you to do, then feel free to just do the half version. So bring yourself up and then you can just roll halfway down. But whichever version you're doing, thinking about this deepening of your abdominals, rounding of your spine, letting yourself be in control the whole time. Coming down just one more time, and then we'll come up and remain seated. Exhaling to bring you up the spine, a little bit of work. Yes, very good. Okay, now we're gonna come to your Z-sit position. I'm gonna start with my knees both to the right side, and then I want you to take your hands behind you. Square off your pelvis here as best you can. So try to have both sits bones grounded down onto the mat. And with your hands behind you on your inhale, come into a little bit of extension. So it's like you're going to expand your chest and ribs forward and then return. Do that on an inhale. Allow your ribs to open up like we started with at the beginning. Shoulder blades connect and then exhale down. Make this your last one, really looking for that nice space and stretch out in your back. And then let your legs come a little bit separated. Leaving your hands behind you, you're now gonna flip your legs and then bring them back. So we're kind of flipping back and forth here from your Z-sit and then over the other side. And in the process, essentially, we're just swiveling your femurs in your hip sockets. Again, doing this little bit of work for pelvic mobility. So as we do this one, your pelvis will move, sits bones will come off the mat. That's fine. But feel connection here into your shoulders. Try to keep open across your collarbones. And then pause in your Z-sit. And you're going to take your front leg, lift and lower. So my knees are both to the right, so I'm lifting my left leg, and it's a little bit of glute work here, lifting up, closing down. 3 more, 2, last one, very good. Then come around so you can be right up onto your right knee. So you're gonna be onto your right knee here, and then onto your right hand, and your left leg is going to be lengthened out along the floor, or your foot on the floor and your leg lengthened up. Now feel this nice opening here across the front of your hip, and then reach your top arm over. And see if you can really fold up here at the bottom of your waist, and then bring yourself up to neutral. So there's this lateral flexion that's going to happen. I want you to think about this rainbow shape that the top line of your body is creating. And then back to neutral. Just do one more set. And then pivot your upper body down. So both hands are going to come onto the mat. Now your pelvis is going to tip a little bit towards the mat. This ASIS that's front is going to come down. And then you're going to lead with that front part of your pelvis. Swiveling back, open hand comes up to behind your head. So you can look forward and even rotate around towards the ceiling if you wish. And then lead with that top part of your body, pressing down to the mat, and then your ASIS comes down. Start again. Start down at your pelvis. Twist it first. There's that pelvis work again to connect in with your hips. Then your hand comes up, comes behind. Continue twisting open if it's available to you. And then returning back down. Hand comes down. Come into a slight little bit of extension. Inhale, open up. This is like 3-point kneeling. And then back to neutral. Then take your hand behind your head. We're going to stay here like this. Top leg, lift and lower. So now we're getting into that little bit of strength work for your hips. Think about these abductors, your glute medius that get to work to help you here with this. And everything else is connected from your center. Breathing through. 3 more. 2. Last one. Now hold it up, point and flex. Front line, back line. Hold the point, internal, external, internal, external. You're twisting all the way around in your hip, almost there. 2 more. Last one, yes. Okay, good, bring it down to the floor. And then you can come all the way down. Now we're gonna flip over into your Z-sit in the other direction. So now your knees are gonna go to the left. Take your hands behind you again. Find your sits bones both grounded down to start if you can. And if it feels different on this side than the other, totally normal. Then on your inhale, back to your extension. Allow your ribs to expand. And then open back to neutral. So when you extend open, imagine someone is pushing right kind of in the between your shoulder blades to allow them to squeeze together, so that you can get this thoracic extension more so than just leaning your head back. Make that your last one. Then bring your legs out a little bit in front so they're separated out, and then coming through, twisting and back. So think about this swivel action. And if you meet restrictions, if it feels uncomfortable, breathe through it. And if it's still uncomfortable, then just come to the first part where you're doing your extension and your Z-sit. But try to see if you can search for this mobility here in your hips. Get a little bit curious with how it feels. Then pause in your Z-sit. Right leg, lift, lower. Trying to let yourself collapse through the top of your body. You'll feel this little bit of oblique work there on the side. Breathing through, 3 more. 2. Last one. Very good. Setting it down. And then you're going to come up to kneeling on your left side. So now you're going to have your left knee down, left hand down, right leg onto the floor. Then reach across with your right. And really try to feel that around it rainbow shape at the top. And then lift up to neutral. Back down, rounding. So I'm simultaneously shortening here, lateral flexion, lengthening here at the top. And then connecting through my obliques to bring myself up. Do just one more set. Then you're going to pivot so you can have both hands onto the floor. Your chest is going to come facing almost towards the floor, and your pelvis as well will turn a little bit. ASIS here in the front. Lead with that. You're going to pivot, open, rotating. And then this arm follows, shoulders follow, comes behind. Keep rotating towards the ceiling if it's available to you. Then lead with your chest. Thoracic rotation to return down. Hand comes down, pelvis follows. Doing it again. Inhale. Feel the twist of your pelvis leading the way. Then the rest of your body just follows along in time. So you get this glorious little bit of rotation, leading back around. Do just one more there. Inhaling. Twist your pelvis. Feel that it makes the rest of your body turn in response. and then coming back down. Then setting yourself up into neutral, so your hand is going to be behind your head. Leg lift and lower. Doing that bit of strength work now. Think about this muscle at the top here, lifting up, controlling, lowering. And always breathing. Just 3 more. 2. Last one, hold it up, point and flex. Front line, back line, pause and point. Internal, external, internal, external. All those hip rotators, getting some work. Almost there, last 2. Yes, so good. Okay, bring your leg down and then pivot around now. You can come to your 4-point kneeling. Taking a second for your patting calf. So I want you to lead again with your pelvis. Tuck your tailbone under, flex up through your spine. And then inhale, extend, open. Exhale, tucking your tailbone, leading from your lower back all the way mid-back, thoracic, cervical, and then coming in reverse. Feel that you can flick your tailbone up, and then your ribs can open to the floor, shoulders depressed. We're going to do just one more like that, or one more set. And then from there, I want you to find your neutral spine. One leg at a time, pressing back into your plank. Pause here in your plank. Now think about your shoulders broadening and then turn your attention to your lower body. Lift one leg, lower, lift the other, lower. So this is your hip extension action happening now. Feel that you can control pressing up and then lowering down. You can point if you'd rather. Doesn't matter what you're doing with your feet. Thinking about your hamstring and glutes at the back for the hip work. Then pause with both feet down. Step to the side, center, other side, center. Again, here's your glute needs working for your hip abductors. All these structures around your hips we're trying to strengthen. One more on either side. Breathing through, then wide knees, press back into your child's pose. Take a breath there and allow your chest to really open up to the floor. Shoulders broad. And then come through your rounded spine here to bring yourself up. In your seated position next, I want you to find your legs in a wide V position. Now we're going to add a little bit of rotation here to some hip work. So think about the lengthening up tall of your spine. Send your arms out in front. Now your sits bones are going to stay grounded. Then rotate towards one leg, back to the center, rotate towards the other leg. Now the challenge with this one for your hips is to try to have your hips just staying bent at 90 degrees and not having your pelvis shift around. In other words, you're right up on top of your sits bones. Try to maintain that now as you rotate and then flex forward over one leg, back to the center, rotate, flex forward, spine stretch, back to the center. Do one more on either side. Exhale, draw your belly in. Feel those abdominal muscles working to flex your spine. Sits bones stay grounded. Then back to the center. Both legs can come out straight. Wiggling yourself down to the end of your mat. Reaching forward and then rolling yourself all the way down onto your back. Once you are there, have your arms down by your sides. And just have your legs again about as wide as the mat. And then I want you to imagine that someone is pulling one leg and then pushing it back up in your hip socket. So just have your attention be on one leg only. The other one might move, But imagine right now, let's start with your right. So someone's pulling it out and then pushing it back in. Pulling it out, pushing it back in. Inhale when it's pulled out. Exhale as you drop back in. And then switch. Same thing other side. Left. Inhale, pull it out. Exhale, drive it back. Inhale, pull. Exhale, return. One last set. Then with both of your legs together, I want you to bend your right knee. Take your hands up. And then you're going to lead with your knee as you drop it across your body and twist in that direction. So toward your left, right knee comes over and your head and shoulders turn the other direction. And then back to the center, switching over. Left leg, lead with your knee, drop it across. Then continue that lower body rotation, looking around in the opposite direction. One more set on either side, so switching now to the right. Lead with your right knee, drop it across your body, let it pull you across in your lumbar, and then your upper back pivots in the opposite direction. Back to the center, one more on the other side. Left knee drops across, twisting, spiraling. And then finishing down in the center, or back to the center, you can take both of your legs down. Find a comfortable position for your arms, for your legs. Any stretch that you need to come through, go ahead and do so. And then just tune into your breathing. You can take your hands back to your ribs like we had at the beginning if you wish. You can have them by your sides. Anywhere that is comfortable and most accessible for you to get some awareness around your body. How it feels. How it feels now as we close it down after having done all this work around your hips with your breath and connecting your mind and body together. Acknowledge the work that you've done and that you have shown up to do it, giving yourself the credit for that. Thank you so very much for coming and doing it with me. And I can't wait to get to see you again soon. See you later.